most.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe him when he says he'll come back to esports. Everyone that said that they would, they have.
Mm.
Tasia, MMA, etc.
Yeah, yeah. I think that he will. But man, it's gonna be so weird. I mean, when Fantasy said he'd come back, if he even did, like 2.5 years ago at this point, I don't know what I was thinking about. I mean, man, 2.5 years ago was Pro League still actually like technically a thing, or was
I think it
thought to
ended
still
in
be a thing?
2016.
Yeah, so 2.5 years ago. Well,
Mm,
ish, I guess. I mean,
ish.
yeah, because it ended in 2016, early 2016. Well, it doesn't matter. The point is, it could be a very different landscape for the future. Certainly, different metas will have evolved by then, even though there shouldn't be any, expansions or anything like that coming out. We finally made it into the game, guys. So it's a TVT between two just true powerhouses of their race and really
Oh god.
different playstyles too. So I was super giddy yesterday. I think you were still asleep, Maynard, but I was like fangirling so hard about TA versus Hero. I'm kind of starting to get the fangirl chills right now here. Let's introduce the players. In the bottom left. Okay. Okay. It is the Blue Terran Innovation.
And in the top right, from Generic Green Wings, some would say he's their crown jewel. Lord of the greatest Terran in the world right now. This is Maru. And oh man, you're absolutely right. I've just realized, taking a step back, as I start to wake up, my body slowly starts to process. We are actually in Maru versus Innovation right now. Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah, what's even
Oh
better?
my
It's not even starting
god.
off with a proxy. Like, Maru's not just gonna try and end the game super early. Yay!
Yeah, he's built these barracks at home.
Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Quick update on the bracket, since we do have time, surprisingly, the CVT to talk. See how long that lasts. Neeb defeated Hero 2-0, which, I mean, I think is really cool. I know people are still question marking Hero, but he's been laddering. He has top GM accounts. Yesterday he beat Creator, and Creator's probably one of his best matchups and good set of 5 games there. So for Neeb to just like, slap him down with a 2-0, good stuff.
Neeb. All right, America fighting back here in the America's Qualifier. I like that. But as we can see, just to talk about this game really quickly, not a whole lot to talk about, but the big differences are Innovation went for the double gas opening. Maru went for a single gas opening, which is Reaper Fast Expand. And when you do this, you have to send your SCV across the map. Otherwise, you could just potentially die immediately. You can adjust your build based on what your SCV sees, but Maru knows what he's up against, and he'll be more than happy to just react as a result. He's got no reactor here in this barracks yet for Innovation, and he's starting just to go into that, double Reaper Hellion opener that most Terrans, when they open double gas, will do to start things off with. And Maru's keeping that Reaper at home, otherwise he would have brought it across the map.
Nice little addition here. So he makes a Marine before building the reactor, right? But the SCV is a cool little addition. That's especially if it was a little later on and there was a second Reaper Innovation, things are going to get a little testy. But this is an okay map for that defense, just in general, because it has a ramp on your side. Actually, I think like 3 out of the 7 maps this season don't have ramps, which are very annoying indeed. But yeah, so he's going to get away with his 1x expand for now. Innovation not super far behind, but I guess context-wise, his natural is halfway done, and so is Maru's third, so...
Maru's gonna... I mean,
oh,
I'll
wow.
be full disclosure, guys. While everyone was talking about Maru being the greatest Terran in the whole world, I was the TY guy, and I didn't really rate Maru's play because he proxied too much, and he was a little bit too cheesy for me to enjoy his stuff. But we're seeing a third in-base CC here from Maru, and he's going to make a fan out of me if he keeps this up, because this is sick. This is the kind of stuff that if you can make it work, you will absolutely take a massive lead inside this game. And with this bunker on the high ground, there's really no way for Innovation to, cost-effectively crack the ground here of Maru. But with this starport hitting that tech lab, now we're talking. Maybe he can do something with that. But it's actually going to be a Raven, not a Banshee. So going to head towards the more defensive path here. Whoa, gets on in there with those Reapers.
Okay, so even if he didn't see the third CC, that factory timing would have been really weird. But he does see everything. It's a couple of SCVs for his trouble as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is a wonderful little move here from Innovation. I can't believe he got past that bunker. Must have been enough space on that bunker to get past without losing any Reapers there. These hurt SCVs trying to be target fired here by Innovation. Great little run by here. He's already killed 4 SCVs. And even if these Reapers die, which, yeah, okay, there they are. I was going to say, they may be able to live if they just went straight out of the base right then and there. But he gets in there. He sees that fast third CC. He's going to make one of his own back at home. And that's kind of what you do in TVT. You're like, it's kind of hard to know when you take your third command center. Basically, you know, any build order that says take your third CC, they will have a asterisk next to it saying when you think it's safe to.
Yeah.
And Innovation thinks it's safe to because he sees that there's one on the way from Maru, so he's not going to be aggressive. He's not hitting with a timing attack, and he puts his on location and try and give himself a little bit of an edge.
It's a mirror matchup thing where it's like, you built a command center, I built a command center. Like you just anything else, and you're gonna have to be playing pretty defensive, which Innovation has done. Innovation, if you put and barcodes on both these players, I think you would have guessed Maru was Innovation. Having this, what is, as far as I know, is a bit of a new build. Certainly not used very often. Gumiho is doing some gasless 1x expands TVT for a little while, for instance, so maybe I just missed a couple times, but like, this third CC stuff, that was extremely fast, but it is apparently working out for him. Innovation is the one that is forced to play ketchup, and while his ketchup shouldn't be, I'm not thinking of the tomato paste, it shouldn't be that bad, it has thrown off probably what he was expecting in this series, as well as what he was probably hoping to do with the opener that he chose, right? So I think he's going to be fine, macro to macro. It's one good engagement for him is going to kind of turn the tide for these supplies, but yeah, he's the one chasing after Maru.
He's right, and he's going to go for the most cost-effective unit composition of all time, going for mech here. We'll see if that works out for him. It is one of those unit compositions where if you only have a handful of units, it can be easily broken by the player with the mobility of Maru's army. He's going for a Marine tank. Trying to get a Marauder as well. I guess he's detected, mech already. Otherwise, there's absolutely no reason to get Marauders in this matchup.
Do you see the floating barracks? Like, yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, when he scanned the main, all he saw was the starport, the factory, and the lack of anything on that tech lab. He sees the third gas being taken, tank, cyclone. I mean, Maru knows something that he sees something that we don't see, and he calls mech here, or maybe he accidentally made a Marauder, but that would be crazy.
Yeah, accidentally making a Marauder, that is kind of crazy. It might be one of those cautionary Marauders though, because he knows it could be. And well, we actually have 2 medevacs go down, but the Ravens also shot down, so Maru makes that a bit of a trade there. Doesn't quite get the armory. What I was going to say is Innovation has been playing, I think, a decent amount of mech TVT on his stream, so this might be kind of that educated guess slash, like, okay, if he's not, then I'll stop making the Marauders, but if he is, I'll just continue, and then my next 2 barracks will have however many other tech labs, exactly. So that's exactly what happens here. Three tech labs total. Maru going to be the type of player I would say that just, does stay on bio for a long time, finds Innovation out of position, and then maybe, if these two are really the titans of Terran that we can consider them, maybe we'll get to that point where Maru also has to transition into air, but I expect a lot of drops, a lot of pulling Innovation this way and that way, and while he's getting a couple of Vikings, I mean, I'll consider it a full transition when he slaps on another starport.
Yeah, I was going to say the second starport is what I'm waiting for here from Maru, because it feels like with a ground army against mech, in fact, it drops another 2 starports as I say that.
Oh, okay,
and that's
wow.
my man.
Yeah,
my man. Sky Terran. That's how you deal with mech. But yeah, going for a ground army as a bio player is just so tough to take an engagement against a mech player. Ooh, 2 turrets ready. He's found an opening here, but comes that Raven with a bunch of Vikings. This drop is not going to work out at all for Maru. Oh, no. Oh, man. Innovation. What a catch. And he is in a massive lead now. Any deficit that he had in this game is gone.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Really nice stuff there. I mean, Maru, once he was seen by the barracks, I'm surprised he didn't move away. I mean, you just kind of assume that the mech player, especially, is going to have like 5 Vikings. Is always that kind of good count until they realize like you're also going into Vikings, right? So I'm surprised he went for it. It's not like Innovation's army's that far away with this little triangle expansion process he has here, so he certainly got bopped for even trying. Now, Innovation, not ready to go ahead and capitalize on it. Doesn't have a very strong ground army, but, he will very soon, and Maru has, if he was not going into air, he can't pull apart Innovation anymore. So, good thing he went straight for air, because that's, I think, the only plan that's going to work out from here, and just who expands faster, who harasses better, who controls their army, their air army better.
Speaking of air armies, it is being amassed here for Maru. He's got that fusion core getting dropped as well to get ranged liberators. Battlecruiser comes out, I'll be very surprised. I like what he's doing here with his small cluster of bio. He doesn't even have medevac support. He's just trying to maybe catch an on-location command center and force a cancel. And that's something that he can do, relatively easily and then stim on out of there, because the mech army is going to be very hard to catch. Speaking of, the fastest mech units are coming out here, and they're very nicely positioned. The splash damage on these Hellions actually helping him kill some of these SCVs. Innovation continues to enjoy a worker lead here, and exactly what Maru was hoping to happen has happened here. We just got a unit catching an SCV, slowing down a command center. However, Innovation did have an in-base fourth, which is already put on location to the north of his main. So that was actually his fifth that he was making there.
Yeah, they're both perhaps accelerating faster to that, what would usually say is a pretty late game composition, but no, like for them, it's an 11-minute composition. You already see Thor even on the way out. It's going to help splash-wise against any Vikings go a little too far forward for Maru, or they could also just be a desperate ploy if he does lose out against the Vikings, has to deal with Liberators. Their single target can help take care of that. Cyclones as well, that's a little trickier. You just ideally, you want to win the actual air war. So Innovation still also making some Vikings, but Maru already on his way to Liberator range. He's making one Raven at a time. He's adding on his own second armory here to catch up on those upgrades. I mean, they are just shooting past any mid-game bio versus mech tank stuff specifically and going into air versus air.
Certainly. Going on the cancel here from Maru, but he might be incorrectly assuming that that's the fourth base of Innovation and he's expanding slower here, turtling as hard as he can. There is actually a big opening over to the north-hand side. That is an easy base for Maru to pick off, but he's got his sights set down here where Terrans will generally take their fourth. Taking your fourth to the north of your main is actually quite rare, I think. You generally want to have like sort of a triangle or diamond pattern as a Terran, just to make defending a little bit easier, rallying over to defend a little bit easier. Maru is on those 2-2, heading towards 2-2 upgrades for his bio, but Innovation's upgrades are pretty tasty here. He's actually switching out of +3 attack for his mech army to get +1 ship weapons while getting +3 armor, and I actually like that quite a bit because the air battle is going to actually probably decide who wins the engagements or not. If Maru can clear out the air of Innovation, then he can actually push these tanks and Hellbats back with these bio forces with the help of Liberators and Ravens. Oh boy.
What is going to happen here? Some of the Liberators could, if they wanted to, if it was, could stay in just their anti-air mode.
Raven.
A little bit of splash can sometimes help out, but usually it is all about the Vikings and the Raven, and that first Raven sniped wasn't so great for Maru. He does still have 3 more. Anti-air missiles only helping him so much as he's starting to lose it a little bit, but he has the defender's advantage. Maybe that'll kick in very soon.
Oh yeah, this is getting dicey here. Innovation starting to press that issue. Both players have got a lot of air army being taken out of the skies here. In fact, Innovation's on 7 Vikings. Maru's just on the 5. Those 2 Liberators actually offering a little bit of splash, and Maru still has his Ravens alive. Innovation's actually got in position here to be in range of that natural and the third at the same time. The ranged Liberator gets taken down by that Thor, who is in that single target anti-air mode. Really plucks those Liberators out of the sky. Just continuing to do damage here. Can Maru hold on with this Air Force, and can he get enough ground forces out to clean up what's left?
These Thors, they're so useful. They could try and siege up on this one Liberator, but they haven't really been able to get close enough. But they're doing a great job picking one Viking after they're off the sky, and Maru just actually taps out. One swift push from Innovation, and Maru quickly is in a bad position. Bad. I can't believe how quickly he lost the Viking war, the air war, considering that his Raven count was decent.
I'm one of those Terrans as well where I hit a Raven anti-air missile and I'm like, okay, I win this fight. Just because my anti-air missile's on their army and they didn't hit mine with one. Right. That means I win, right? Actually, funnily enough, doesn't, like, it changes the fight, but not over having 3 or 4 more Vikings.
Right.
The other guy with the more units will still win the battle because he's just shooting more than you are. It's kind of hard. It's unfortunate that the air battle was so one-sided there. It looked like on paper that it might be a lot closer, especially because Innovation lost his Raven quite quickly as well during that attack. And without the Raven, you lose a lot of that ability to lock down or even just add auto turrets or whatever, or an anti-air missile. The Raven is so useful in this matchup. But just had the numbers, man. Had the numbers, broke on through, muscled his way in, and got himself the GG. Innovation's been looking really good since this patch has hit, by the way. Like, even way back in Home Story Cup, even though he didn't win it, got all the way into the grand final against Cyril, all the way to Game 7. He looked amazing in TVZ when people were still trying to figure out this new, Widow Mine, Drilling Claws meta. And he was looking hot already from day one.
He's looking hot, yeah. No, it's a very good point. Innovation, I mean, history, I guess we'll call it a slump. certainly at the time, people were saying that he's done for. It's past his prime. In 2018, most of it, and then the patch hits kind of to the later stages of 2018 anyways. Because I say the patch hits, so that's not really correct. Like, he was doing better in online tournaments as well, just didn't actually get to go to perform at BlizzCon. So, I mean, the point is, like, whether it was the patch or not, he has been doing very well against all the races. He certainly has been doing well, I think, better than other Terrans versus Protoss on his own stream, for instance. And we just saw him absolutely obliterate Maru from the early to the late game, even with Maru having what I would call a bit of a builder advantage. Like, he was the one setting the pace, which can be very strong in TVT, yet Innovation just was like, bopped a couple of medevacs down and was easy peasy from there. Made it seem easy peasy anyways.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's introduce our players, as is tradition. In the bottom right here, currently up 1 in the series, it is your boy, Innovation. Your boy.
In the top left, as the red Terran, he is Maru. Playing very fast in that 3rd CC. I wonder... well, actually, I don't have to wonder anymore, because we're already into that 2nd gas, so that's kind of what I was expecting. Wish I'd called it a bit sooner, that he would just flip the script, go into certainly a more aggressive stance in the early game. Although in TVT, things don't have to revolve around, one base being truly all in. It very easily goes to the natural thirds, macro games. That's why I love this matchup 99% of the time. I think it is very strong early, mid, and late game. You can have any length of a game be very action-packed and very interesting. But, yeah. So we'll see how Maru is going to dedicate to this. And I guess we even have to keep tabs on if he will, because he's already taken 1 guy out of each gas.
That's right. So it's interesting what he's going for here. I wonder if his SCV, if it's just coming home or if he'll drop a starport, because that's something that Maru does love to do, just to maybe, potentially get a Liberator out and hence send it across the map. And it looks like that might be what he's doing here.
Yeah.
Just waiting for that factory to finish.
For sure. So, even though Innovation might be a little wary of this, you're facing Maru after all, though neither one of them is scouted, or Innovation hasn't scouted. It still is difficult to deal with, especially against someone who can mic with them appropriately, who just doesn't send their Liberator in and, sets it up and forgets about it, which I'm sure many of us do. It can still be very difficult. Like, that extra couple of seconds that you don't have time to push out another Viking or another Cyclone or get them into position can mean 5, 6 SCVs when you're both doing these more one-base openers. I mean, that can result in a lot, but this micro war is already going in favor of Innovation, so taking snowballs.
So a few more hit points. Whoop, doesn't break through though.
All right. That was a 2nd Hellion and another Reaper on the way, so it's a good thing he didn't try. I mean, that's not, like, he is actually just making Reapers and Hellions. He's not stopping, but usually you would see a stop after, I think 3 has usually been the max I've seen. Technically, he might go into more. Does he know about the lack of starport? Nope, not at all, but didn't see a command center, so he's got to anticipate one. Just a question of, does he anticipate it in the, proxied location?
Yeah, this is going to hit very, very early and almost certainly going to beeline straight to that main base. And when you're dealing with units in natural while getting liberated in the main, it is tough, even at this level, for players to deal with that. Actually, I would even take a step back and say, especially at this level, because the guy you're up against is multitasking just as well as you are. All right, here comes that first Liberator. And Maru's going to try and break this high ground and try and take Innovation's attention away here. He loses a lot of units as a result, though. That Cyclone putting in a lot of punch here for Innovation, but that Cyclone is not in the main base, shooing away this Liberator, which is going to start getting SCV kills and denying mining.
Yeah, instantly 4 go down, and since something's going to go and take care of it, actually he assumes that something's going to take care of it, but there actually wasn't anything, so Innovation gets back to mining a little bit sooner than he should have. But Maru perhaps has bigger things to deal with. This counter that's happening here, looks like a Cyclone just barely pop out in time, and it will shoo away Innovation.
Innovation really felt the need to do some counterattack damage here, and unfortunately it was not a very good trade for him. He does get a few SCVs, the worker count of both players pretty similar here. But the thing is, Maru still has that Liberator alive. Oh, the Raven forced to put in a lockdown here on that Liberator while the Cyclone finishes it off, but a second one's in the main base. Still denying mining time, still getting SCV kills. And Maru's Liberator advantage is quite huge here. That Raven doesn't have enough for another lockdown, and there is enough dead space here for that Liberator to hide from this Cyclone.
I mean, it's blow to blow, resources lost. It is still favorable for Innovation, even though he's lost a lot more SCVs. He's managed to keep his head above water with the command center being faster, right? So it's not devastating, but it certainly has been an okay opener, an evening opener even for Maru. Who, if, there are potentials where this just ultimately fails, right? Like, for instance, if it's found out, then the starport's in a bit of trouble. But he's going to continue producing from that proxy starport as long as it's not found. I guess go ahead. This Raven's going to take a while to get over there, but it should be safe. Innovation is going to go into his Vikings, and once again, going to be going into mech.
Yeah, double factory gets dropped here. Seen any armories just yet, but the 3 factories will suffice in showing us what's happening here. And Maru once again going for the bio composition with the Ravens on the back end, getting that stim, getting an extra couple barracks here. The bio composition for Maru didn't work out last game, and I wouldn't say that that's a weakness of the composition, more so that his decision making didn't really work out for him. You know, he tried to go for a triple medevac drop that got completely shut down. He got 0 damage done with it. And even his drop in the natural in the early stages where he did do damage wasn't too convincing either, where Innovation locked that down as well and traded better than he did. And if if you don't get damage done with your bio units and you aren't actually using mobility to the greatest advantage, then the mech player will overwhelm you with a stronger army.
Yeah. I mean, Maru didn't seem to be in a terrible position based, like, off of that, because we say that, losing 3, 4 medevacs, or 5 medevacs total, actually. And it sounds devastating, but he was also expanding like crazy. He had his own air army that was roughly similar, even had more Ravens. I feel like it was just Innovation's absolutely just brutal. I won't take a no for an answer. Like, I'm not going to stop no matter what you have, because what Maru had was a little scary. Innovation was like, no, I can take care of it. The swiftness of his attack is what was so brutal and so effective, in my opinion, is Maru was like, no, like, you don't understand. Like, I have, like, ranged liberators. Like, you can't do this. And Innovation's like, no, I just did. And those Thors that he added in ended up being such a great help for the Vikings in particular, that sometimes see those Thors, they're desperate. That time it just helped even the odds of the Viking Raven. But speaking of pushes, we have one. It's certainly a faster push you would expect for a mech player.
I was about to say, speaking of swift attacks, and use that as a segue. Like, this is very swift. There's no third base here for Innovation. There's actually not even one on the way, and he's just going for a big two base attack here with his mech units. He does have that magic double Raven number with plenty of energy and a lot of tanks with a big Viking advantage. Let's see if he can break Maru here. Oh, that Raven's a juicy target. If those Vikings were a little bit further, that would have been taken out for sure.
Gosh, how does Maru even hold this? Down half the army supply?
It's tough.
Do you hold this? Like, I don't know about that. He would have had to buy more time by forcing this to siege and unsiege. Oh, man.
Maru gets to lock down those Ravens, and he's going to come in for this big attack here, pulling the boys with the bio forces. His tanks get ready to fight again. The Ravens are back, though, and even without the Ravens, I think Innovation just has a little bit too much here. The auto turret's getting dropped down to put salt in the wounds, and he's cracked Maru's defenses. GG